Okay, so I'm going to show you all how to make your own sourdough starter from scratch. I want to be really thorough about this and try to answer a lot of questions that you can have when making your own starter, because I know it seems super confusing, but just know that it is really not that hard. It might seem confusing at first, but it's actually really simple, and sourdough starter is not hard to take care of. It's kind of like a really good friend that you can kind of not communicate with for a while, and then when you get back together with them, you pick up where you left off. It's like so easy. The only ingredients that you need are flour and water, okay? Super simple. You can use any container. It just really doesn't matter, just any container at all. Now, I like to use a scale because I feel like it is the thing that has given me the least amount of trouble in figuring out. Like, just using a scale, you're just getting your measurements correct. And if you don't have one, they're super easy to find at your grocery store, just anywhere really. And you probably will continue to use it in future sourdough recipes. Like, I use it every time I make a sourdough recipe. So I am using just a regular white flour. It's unbleached. You really don't need a special flour. I've used whole wheat before, and so yeah, you can use anything. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put 25 grams of flour and 25 grams of warm water here in my jar. And then you just wanna mix it up. Now I'm starting with like just a little bit, because you're gonna be discarding a lot of this starter as you are making it, as you're going through the fermentation process. You're gonna be discarding quite a bit of it. So like, I didn't want to start with a really huge amount. And now that we mixed our flour and water, we're just gonna really loosely put a lid on it. When the starter starts to ferment, it's basically pulling bacteria out of the air in your home. That sounds really gross, but that's essentially what's happening. You don't want it to be airtight. You could just even put a paper towel over if you want, but I'm just gonna put a lid really loosely on it and put it in a warm spot. And I'm gonna keep it in a spot that is kind of warm. A couple different places you could put it to keep it warm is in your oven with a light on, maybe near a fire or a heater of some sort, and you're just gonna leave it there for 24 hours for the first little fermentation process, and then we are going to feed it again. And whenever I say feed it, it simply means that we're giving it food and water, which is flour and water. So, all right, we'll see you at the next feeding. So one thing that I think will be really helpful when you're first making your sourdough starter is just remember to always use warm water. Don't ever use cold water. I don't know if there's any scientific evidence for this or if other people have had problems with it, but from my own experience, I feel like cold water really, like, it suppresses it. I don't know how, it just suppresses it and makes it like really heavy, and it seems like it can't ferment. So I always use warm water, and that really helps the fermentation process to speed up. If you've ever kind of dealt with any kind of fermentation or even leaving something in your hot car for too long, it rapidly ferments when there's a warm atmosphere. Okay, so I set my starter in a warm place. I'm gonna leave it there for 24 hours. And I'm gonna set an alarm on my phone, because if you're like me, it is very easy to forget it if you've kind of set it away. Okay, this is day 2. I'm going to take all of this starter and feed it. A lot of people will do like, you discard half of it and feed it, but I started with a really small amount, so I'm gonna go ahead and feed all of it. Some days it will seem like there's nothing happening with your starter, and other days it might seem like it's getting really bubbly and it's really exciting, and then it might go back to seeming like nothing's happening. But don't give up or get discouraged. Just keep on going, because you really can't mess it up. Like, you're not gonna mess it up unless you completely stop feeding it. So if it seems like it's not working, just keep going. Don't give up. I'm putting it back in here because I don't think there's enough room. I don't know if I can stress this enough, but just always think warm. Okay, this is day 3. I am going to feed half of this and throw the other half away. It's really runny and watery and weird soupy. It doesn't smell very good, but that's okay. Just keep going no matter what it smells like or looks like. Just keep going. Put the lid loosely on it, and then I'm going to put it back in my oven with the light on. Okay, so now we're going to start 12-hour feedings. So we're feeding it now. Keep doing like the 25 to 30 grams, and then you can just toss all of this out. If at any point during this process you feel like your starter is like really runny and you just feel like it's not right, I know sometimes that can be hard to tell if it's right or not, but if it's like really runny like kefir, you could just add like another tablespoon or 2 of flour in it. Don't worry about measuring, just add in another tablespoon or 2, and it will not mess anything up. Okay, and then we're going to put this in a warm place, and then we'll feed it again in the morning. Okay, so today is the second 12-hour feeding. So we're gonna go ahead and feed half of this, throw half of it away, and then we're gonna put like a rubber band on our container to see how much it grows. So I'm still doing the 25 to 30 grams. You really don't need to do more than that while you're growing it, otherwise you're gonna be using a ton of flour. Okay, so I just have a little rubber band here. I'm just gonna put it on to where the level of the sourdough is right now. That way we can see how much it's growing. So once it's doubling or tripling in size, then we'll know that it's about ready to use. I do one more trick after it's doubling to see if it is in fact ready or not. So I'm just gonna put this in my sunny windowsill, and we'll come back a few hours later and see how much it's grown. Okay, so here comes the moment of truth, and don't worry if it doesn't turn out right. I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I've done the feeding the 12 hours apart thing twice now, and we are going to scoop out a little bit and put it in this water. If it floats, then it's ready to use. If it doesn't float and it sinks to the bottom, then we're gonna wanna keep feeding it for a while. Look at that, it's floating. There's a glob right here, I don't know if you can see it. It's floating on the top of the water. Some of it has went down under, but it's floating, so that's a really good sign. Yep, and then that piece, it went down to the bottom and came back up, so it is ready to use. Now, if your starter sinks down to the bottom, maybe try one more spoonful just to make sure. Yep, that's floating. Okay, so if yours sinks down to the bottom, just go ahead and keep feeding it every 12 hours. So feed it another time and then check it again after it's doubled in size. Or if it's still sinking to the bottom, just keep doing that. And then like it really should not take more than 1 or 2 more times. So there you have it. If it floats, it is ready to use. Okay y'all, so that's it for this video. I hope that you were able to learn how to make your own sourdough starter. I hope my tips were really helpful, and I know that it can just be so confusing. Even though you gather all this information on how to do it, you still run into problems here and there that you just feel like you can't understand or figure out. I totally get that. I've done it a couple times, so I know those feelings really well. And if I can help you, I'll do my best to try to do that. So if you have questions about it, just comment below and I will be replying to all of the comments. So anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching, and like this video, comment if you want to. And if you're enjoying my content, please subscribe to my channel. All right, see you in the next video.